Once upon a time, in a lush green forest, there lived a clever and cunning fox named Felix. Felix was known throughout the forest for his sly tricks and clever schemes. He was always on the lookout for his next opportunity to outsmart his fellow forest creatures. One sunny morning, Felix was strolling through the forest, his bushy tail swaying behind him. He had a mischievous glint in his eyes, and his sharp ears were twitching with curiosity. As he wandered deeper into the woods, his keen nose detected a sweet aroma wafting through the air. Following his nose, he soon arrived at a vineyard filled with plump, juicy grapes hanging from vines that reached for the sky. Felix's mouth watered at the sight of the delicious grapes. He knew he had to have them, but there was one problem: the grapes were hanging high above his head, out of his reach. Felix tried to jump and grab them, but they were still too far away. He stood on his hind legs and stretched his body as far as he could, but the grapes remained tantalizingly out of reach. Frustrated but determined, Felix decided to use his cleverness to get those grapes. He took a step back and looked up at the grapes, analyzing the situation. "I must find a way to get those grapes," he muttered to himself. Felix began to circle the vineyard, searching for any possible way to reach the grapes. He thought about climbing the vines, but they were too thin and delicate to support his weight. He even considered building a makeshift ladder, but the forest floor was devoid of the necessary materials. As he continued to ponder the problem, Felix noticed a nearby tree. It had a sturdy trunk and branches that extended close to the grapevines. Felix's eyes lit up with an idea. "I'll climb the tree and use its branches to reach the grapes," he exclaimed. With newfound determination, Felix scampered up the tree with agility and grace. He carefully navigated the branches until he was within arm's reach of the grapes. But to his dismay, the grapes were still just out of reach. Felix stretched as far as he could, but it seemed that no matter what he did, the grapes remained just beyond his grasp. Felix was getting frustrated. He couldn't believe that he, the cleverest fox in the forest, was being defeated by a bunch of grapes. He tried one more time, making a desperate leap towards the grapes, but all he got was a mouthful of leaves and a tumble to the ground. Sitting on the forest floor, panting and defeated, Felix couldn't help but feel a sense of embarrassment. He had always prided himself on his wit and cunning, but here he was, unable to obtain a simple bunch of grapes. Just as Felix was about to give up and slink away in shame, he heard a soft voice from above. "Having trouble, my friend?" It was Jasper, a wise old owl who lived in the tree. Felix looked up and saw Jasper perched on a branch, his large, round eyes twinkling with amusement. "Yes," Felix admitted sheepishly. "I can't reach those grapes, no matter how hard I try." Jasper hooted softly. "Well, Felix, it seems you've encountered a problem that can't be solved by cleverness alone. Sometimes, persistence and creativity are needed." Felix was intrigued. He listened intently as Jasper continued. "You see, my friend, instead of focusing on what you can't do, try to think of what you can do. Think of a different way to reach those grapes." Felix nodded thoughtfully. Jasper's words made sense. He decided to take a step back and reevaluate the situation. He looked around the vineyard and noticed a pile of stones nearby. An idea began to form in his mind. With newfound determination, Felix gathered some of the stones and piled them one on top of the other. He created a makeshift tower of stones, each one carefully balanced on the other. It took some time and patience, but Felix didn't give up. Finally, after several tries and a few wobbles, Felix had built a tower of stones tall enough to reach the grapes. He climbed the tower and reached out with his paw. This time, the grapes were within his grasp. With a triumphant smile, Felix plucked one grape after another from the vine and savored their sweet, juicy goodness. As he enjoyed the fruits of his labor, Felix couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. He had learned an important lesson that day. Sometimes, it's not just about being clever, it's about being persistent and creative when faced with challenges. Felix climbed down from the tower of stones and looked up at Jasper, who was still perched on the branch, watching him with a wise smile. "Thank you, Jasper," Felix said. "You were right. Sometimes, you have to think outside the box and never give up."